livestock in millions because they don't lack water. This is fresh water from the lake that imespill with the rising of the lakes kama hii Nakuru wapi rise also in Turkana ikalete maji ndani na iko na nyazi ya ajabu. And the third economic activity ni trade. Trade between Ethiopia and Kenya, it goes on there. So it's such a place that mimi kabisa naamini kwamba in the near future tuki set up our military camp na to secure the place. Ni sehemu moja hata ningependa kuenda kuishi na kuretire. Kwa hivyo ningependa kusema tu kwamba na the infrastructure ijengwe kufika Todonyang. Ni mahali pazuri lakini shida ni kwamba kwa miaka mingi wananchi wameachwa peke yao na itabidi sisi tuweke nguvu kusaidia wao kwa sababu pia wana deal na serikali ya regional government ya upande ule wa the Meriles or the Dasnach wenye wako kwa upande wa Ethiopia. Na so those challenges sio kama vile wewe unasema tu Bridget hapa. Sio kitu ya kusema kwa nini wa Kenya hawajachunga serikali haijachunga Todonyang. The challenges yenye huko ni enormous and the level of ability kwa sababu the next place where you have the military is a bit far in Kibish. So we believe that tutaweza kustrengthen up. Na tutafanya pamoja na serikali ya Ethiopia because ilibidi mahali ambapo tuliwasiliana na Ethiopian government kusaidiana pamoja ndio hata tukarecover some of the bodies na kupigana pale wanapigania nets na boats. Na huko ni nets ndio inaibwa na boats. That is part of the biggest cause of conflict. Alafu sasa boundary along the lake itself ndio inaleta shida mingi lakini tutahakikisha kwamba hiyo imefanyika. Kwa maneno ya nyumba 10, kwa hivyo nyumba 10 is very important, extremely important. But the problem ya architect ya nyumba 10 kwa Kenya ni kwamba kwa sehemu ambayo inafanya kazi community ndio imechukulia kuwa ni yao. Lakini mkifikiria ni nyumba 10 ni structure ya serikali, makosa inatokea hapo. Okay? Tuko na department kwa National Police Service ya community policing. Inasaidia kwa coordinating, working on the policy, trying to train our OCSs and police officers, wasaidia kwa mambo ya community policing. Lakini kile ambacho tunataka kusisitiza kwa Wakenya ni kwamba kila community waketi chini pamoja na kujua jirani yako. Nakumbuka kwa nini President Uhuru alisisitiza mambo ya community policing after 2013. Ni kwa sababu ya ile shida ya Al-shabab. Kwa sababu ulikuwa unapata kwa urban area watu wanaishi pamoja lakini hujui Chepsoi ni nani, hujui Bridget ni nani. So mnakaa tu mnasema sinika jamaa na kwa kumbe huyo ni mtu ana collect intelligence kwa niaba ya mkora mwingine ama ni mtu ya kutoka nchi nyingine. Kwa hivyo we need kama community turudishe, yani tuchukulie maanani sisi kama wa Kenya. Na I think itabidi sisi kama ministry tufanye greater publicity na awareness kwa mambo ya why community policing, using our ngao and using our police, because that community service, community policing, kwa nini crime inaendelea kwa community? Unasikia ati kuna watoto 10 waliwawa hapa. Ati kwa West Pokot watoto wanawawa na kukulwa. Na mtoto amepotea na ajulikane hako wapi. It's because tumekuwa individualistic. Kwanza kwa urban areas, a city like this ya Nakuru tusipochunga, mkikuwa individualistic utaka kujua nini inaendelea kwa neighbor. Neighbor anawika analia. Nyinyi mnasema ni kama ule jamaa na discipline bibi yake. Kumbe watu wanaletwa kwa nyumba next na kunyongwa. You know? And I'm saying some of us, why is gender-based violence inaendelea? Because we have normalized. Mtu anapiga bibi yake kwa next unasema ni normal, ni cultural. Yet that is violence, you know? Bibi anapiga bwana yake, watu kijiji yote inakuja kucheka. Sema baba nani alitandikwa na kumbe baba nani ni addict ya alcohol na bibi anateka advantage kumnyonga. So some of these acts can be sorted. Come as a community we can come together.
Waziri,
the last thing is that on the sex trade hii yenye imekuwa on children, it's very unfortunate, and again it's the same thing. It's that individualistic thing kwamba watu wanaona wanasema, na people have become also very callous. Unawaachilia mambo ya mtoto, unaona inafanyika na hakuna kitu unafanya, lakini I promise that to strengthen our department yenye the deal na hiyo mambo ya human trafficking, trafficking young children for sex, and also issues here trafficking with drugs, among others. On the Shakahola issue, fighting religious extremism is not easy, because mtu akwambia nimeenda fasting pale, you know, wewe utapinga mtu ameenda kuomba, na kumbe anakuambia nimeenda kutafuta Mungu wangu kama Elijah, nimeenda kupanda milima, ama Musa nimeenda Mount Sinai. Yeah, so by the time una realize kumbe ilienda kutana out imekuwa ni kifo. We had not that we are condoning anything, to start with first. We cannot condone it, but it remains a very complex problem to deal with. Religious extremism remains a complex problem to deal with, because it starts slowly. Starts with believers going to wash barabara na sabuni. Then we say it is normal. And then they remove their clothes and lay hapo kwa their nini. Haya, wengine wanaenda kanisa wenye women wanaambiwa unatoa nguo unaoshwa na pastor utakuwa ni. So you don't know at what stage does it become crime. Suddenly in the process, as it progresses, it leads to loss of life. I know the one for the reason one dia Shakahola na this next incident has happened is under investigation now, but we want to understand the circumstances under which there's a particular person called Jared who went with his wife, you know, all the way from Siaya back to Shakahola, and we rescued him in 2023. He went back to that forest to say he was going to pray. When an interview was done by, I think, a journalist on DCI. DCI actually is the journalist who was reporting. When they went to the DCI, the guy told the DCI, this guy, what's his name, Mackenzie, called him from the cells and prayed for him on phone. You know? So you can see radicalization. My friend, it's not like somebody has gotten you and killed you, but is ingraining certain beliefs in people's mind. Baka people are fasting to death. Now, where the real genocide has happened and high crimes have happened is because it involves children who are not of. It is the children who are dying because they are not of age to deal with these beliefs. Some of these beliefs are happening in a house, in Guinea, in a whatever, and then eventually people are going to be buried in a site. So that's why the investigation is going to tell us exactly what has happened, and it's an area. And then many Kenyans don't know that part of the reasons why we have not closed the Shakahola issue is that, you see, these people are not from Kilifi. They were from all over the country, Baringo, Vika walikuwa wengi, Siaya, Kisumu, all those places. Now, relatives in that place do not know that the person they lost actually went to Shakahola and they died there. So they are not even presenting themselves for DNA test. So the testing and concluding the matters has been complex, but we are about to make a decision as government to see if we can inter the remaining parts or bodies because of lack of any further people have come out for DNA, and maybe just create a memorial center within the Shakahola itself. It's also they take advantage of the vastness and the of the land we are talking about an area of forest of 100,000 acres and so forth. And some of these people go and hide there and, commit the atrocities that they have done. Which is very unfortunate. But that will be dealt with. Maybe just before we go to... Yes. DIG has already given me the current statistics. There was the total number of firearms that were recovered from the Operation Malisa Walivu were 253. The animals that were stolen, that's the firearms, 253. Total ammunition recovered is 1,441. And animals stolen, 22,456. And animals recovered, 20,000. So there's about 2,000 animals that were not recovered in the process.
Maybe Chepso, you could give Nani a chance
before I give it
to
to Ogola, to pick it from what Ngana said about the Nyumba Kumi, can you institutionalize this issue of like what you're doing, the Jokoa issue? Can you institutionalize like what Kenya School of Government are doing with under the tree, so that we make it this not less expensive and leaving it to Waziri to go around the counties and go back to institutionalized patriotism and barazas like what we used to do before?
That's why I'm saying individualism ndio inatuharibia, inatuharibia. But kitu ya maana ni perhaps kutumia our regional and county police commanders, commissioners and my chiefs na assistant chiefs, ikuwe kwamba wanangangana na kuhakikisha kwamba, na sijasema nyumba kumi haifanyi everywhere. Kuna sehemu ambayo nyumba kumi inafanya fantastically. Na ni kwa sababu ya support ile chiefs wanafanya pamoja na community. Na kidogo maybe tuta strengthen ile tunasema some resources kidogo ile AIE for the chiefs ndio wapate uwezo ya kuorganize hizo nyumba kumi. Hiyo ndio request ya our chiefs wamekuwa wakisema across the country.
Yes, Ogola. Sometimes they say that to handle matter security, people have to work in silence.
Yeah.
We have heard of recent times utterances of national insecurity emanating from some of the politicians on the engagement of the deputy president in the US. And he has been dared that he'll be arrested when he comes back. And at one time, you also pronounced yourself to that. He responded to the dare by telling you people that he will tell you the time and the plane that he will. Can you respond to that dare without making it a national insecurity issue?
Well, basically, I thought that I said it clearly yesterday that it is him who voluntarily said that he has information about Kenyan authorities' engagement with Al-Shabaab and negotiating and doing business with Al-Shabaab and so forth. So I thought it's not even a question of being arrested. It is, if he is patriotic enough, he needs to record that statement with the DCI. And that should be the first opportunity is offered. In fact, I thought he was going to say he will tell us the time and the hour is going to arrive, and therefore DCI, prepare yourself, I will be in your office 2 hours. If you ask me increasingly, I'm not a doctor, but increasingly the utterances that come from Deputy President are pointing out to two things. Either he's a serious or a pathological liar who is looking for cheap political publicity, or is acute case of mental health, who perhaps will be unnecessary for us to spend resources to arrest, but rather to guide him and his loved ones to take him to a mental hospital. Because, and I'm saying this really because he says one thing this month, then he jumps to another. Yeah, he will wake up and tell you that I don't know if it was true, it was him or whatever. You know, I can't keep up with his lies. At one point, he will tell you that Kenya Kwanza bought all tickets for Arambe Stars to go to the to the field. The next minute, his deputy party leader is posting pictures from inside there. In any case, we even greeted each other with him and in Kasarani. On 1 minute, he will be saying that I will, you know how he praised his, when we came to office, he announced to the whole world that the coffers were empty. When he was asked recently, he said, no, they were not empty, I lied. And he's not telling people that he lied for the first time. So if he lied that time, who tells you that he's not lying now? But to be very honest, if he was still holding office, any reasonable Kenyan would have asked for a mental assessment for his ability to lead. But now that he's out of office, it is out of compassion that I ask his loved ones to check him in for mental health.
But if I may ask, why don't you handle this thing behind the curtains? Because the utterances in public spheres causes emotional instability among the population. Why can't it be handled in a more dignified way, other than the back and forth?
I think I need to talk to his doctor to handle it behind the scenes, in a dignified way, so that he doesn't keep making those attempts. And I thank you for that. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I'd like to
Yes,
still
Mumbi.
press on the issue of illicit brew. And just before that, I'd like to put you up to speed. Last night, a 20-year-old boy, or rather a young man, died in Wanyororo Farm after consuming illicit brew and died in a midnight fire that he caused himself. That is how sad the situation of illicit brew is, and I understand it is not an isolated case. But now then, how do you deal when prominent people, politically protected, politically affiliated, are involved heavily in the distribution of illicit brew products?
Thank you.
I think Waziri, to just save time, please, if you have a pressing question, please shoot so that he can take and just address them unanimously, because we are really pressed on time and we need to wind up.
Okay, Waziri, swali langu ni kuhusiana ile formation of new sub-counties. Kwa mfano hapa Nakuru, Naivasha na Nakuru kuna idadi kubwa ya watu. Na tukielekea ile mgao ya zile rasilimali za umma hawapati haki, na imekuwa ni vigumu sana wapate hiyo new sub-counties. Na tukienda kule Narok kuna new sub-counties yenye zimeformiwa lakini asifanyi kazi vizuri. Kwa mfano kule kuna location in Transmara South, the new sub-county. Iko na sub-chief lakini haina chief kwa muda sasa. Pengine mko na mikakati gani ili kuhakikisha kwamba inafanya kazi ipasavyo?
Okay. Waziri, also as regards to the elections, we know that next year officially the electioneering period begins, and already we're seeing some utterances by leaders who are affiliated to President William Ruto talking harshly as regards to stating how that if quote unquote some saying that kama kura haitaja tutaiba. What do you make of such remarks coming at a time when the electioneering period is almost a year or two away? And what can the government do to ensure that both parties, those who are in the opposition as well as those who are in government or pro-government, do not clash as regards to these utterances?
Bwana Waziri, tunafahamu kwamba maafisa wa polisi jukumu lao kubwa ni kuhakikisha usalama kwa wananchi na kukabiliana na visa vya uhalifu. Lakini kumekuwa na visa ambapo maafisa wa usalama wanashirikiana na wahalifu, jambo ambalo ni la kuhuzunisha. Jitihada za kuhakikisha kwamba wale maafisa wa polisi wamehusika na wahalifu kushiriki kwenye uhalifu zimefikia wapi, na kuzuia hili kwamba maafisa wa polisi wafanye jukumu lao na si kufanya uhalifu?
Waziri Chan, wamesema wata reduce wale mashabiki ikuje 60% kwa sababu ile furugu ya mashabiki kuingia kwenye uwanja, na vile vile kuna uwezekano kwamba tunaweza enda kuchezea Tanzania, na nina matumaini kwamba tutakuwa kwenye finali na transport inaweza kuwa tatizo. Je, mtaiweka mikakati gani Waziri?
Labda langu Waziri ni kwamba wale maafisa wetu wa utawala wanapotekeleza majukumu yao kule nyanjani, wakati mwingine unapata wanaumizwa, wengine wanapoteza maisha, tuwafanya nini?
It's the second last question with reference to the interference. There are allegations that police are interfering with the enforcement of court orders with reference to the Ngongongeri land, which is next to Egerton University. And so we are seeing that the misuse of security officials is at hand with the enforcement of a court order. And then I'll pick the last question from the audience. Please just ask one question, please. She had requested earlier, please, it's the last question.
Thank you so much, Bwana Waziri. My name is Wajroa Mwagi. I work for Ops Media, Ridi TV and Ridi FM. My question is on the security of journalists. I would like to know what specific actions are you taking or have you taken to address the impunity of the attack on journalists, including ensuring justice and remedies on the victims, because from what we've been seeing lately, journalists have been facing various threats, including physical violence. What are you doing?
Basil, you can go ahead. One more? Every... One... You're putting me in a cash 22 na utaniwacha na hawa watu. Utaniacha na hawa watu. Please, I'll give the three of you final.
Thank you so much, Waziri. A very quick one. It's on Lake Nakuru, quote unquote, the illegal fishing. One of the proposals that had been given by a task force that was that worked during the Lee Kinyanjui regime was that perhaps government could extend the land so that then now we don't have, people who are being told they are doing illegal fishing within the lake. Is that something that is feasible? And will we finally have any closure on the Odhiambo issue?
Waziri Mchege from The Standard. Swali langu ni kwa human rights activists. These are the people who speak on behalf of Kenyans, but some of them are silenced na kuwa threatened. What is their security? And then in matters Baringo, if you can get statistics ya wanabiashara ambao wameshikwa. Yes.
Waziri, I'm Robert Omaina from Inoro FM and Inoro TV. The Deputy President, Honorable Kithure Kindiki, about a week ago, pronounced about government's commitment to help locals about matters wildlife attack, especially in Njoro. As we are talking, there is a family in a village called Sinendet in Lare Njoro that is who have not yet buried their kin, who was mauled by hyenas, and in fact, it's only the intestines that were retrieved. Maybe what's your comment about that, because the animals are causing serious fears to the residents?
Okay, do I go ahead? I'll do it in bullet form also, so that I save you time. On the question of security of Ngao officers, we have the National Government Administration Police Units that is being established, which was established, and I launched it when I came to office. What's remaining is that we are trying to deploy officers to this unit so that they can work together with administrators and assist them in enforcement and help them in protecting them, because in a number of cases the chiefs have been, they go for raids and then they are the ones who are attacked at the same time to do enforcement. But in other parts of the country where there's banditry also, the chiefs are always threatened. And so we have agreed that they can apply to be firearm holders and we can license them, or they can apply to become NPR and we give them a gun also to be able to protect themselves, or in some cases attach NPR to work with them. So this is an area that is of great concern and it has been raised in most of the Jukwaa forums. On the court orders in Ngongogeri land in Egerton, I think it was an issue that was also raised today by our security team, and it's an I have asked that the regional security team lead a process of establishing the facts and where the court order is, and in enforcing this court order, what is the collateral damage. Sometimes we have a genuine court order, but the people occupying land is 1,000. So like for example, Oljorai, you might have a genuine claim by the Lari Nyakinywa to the land, but the consequences of removing those who are inside is more dire. And that's where you find yourself as police officers and security forces in a very awkward position as to which of the sites how do you enforce the law without loss of life? Because today if we walk to that place and tell people you now need to leave, there is an older claim to this place, you are probably going to never going to do that as police officer peacefully. So there is a balance to be done as a government. On the question of security of journalists, that's a very good question. I know journalists have been attacked in the past in Mandamano. They find themselves at the crossfire, either of police officers lobbing tear gas, hurting them sometimes. I don't think it is sometimes intentionally, sometimes in the crossfire. Some cases may be intentional, or goons who are in Mandamano, or for example, when these people of DCP were launching their party, they beat journalists, but the journalists refused to report. If it was the police, they would have reported. But because it was an opposition party, they refused to report. and bigger media houses are represented here, and they completely refuse to report. And people are telling us, oh, journalists were beaten, and why the person who was beaten is not willing to report. And that failure to report actually is taking sides. Because if it was government, you would have reported. But when it is a particular political group, you don't want to report because you don't want them to be in trouble. So it is some of those things that we want consistency in the process. But journalists, like any other citizen, deserve to be protected. One way of promoting this relationship is to have continuous engagement between journalists and the National Police Service. And for the National Police Service to appreciate the role of journalists in reporting maandamano and other incidences that they involve police operations. Because there's nothing the police are trying to hide. They are trying to maintain law and order. And if you are a police officer trying to maintain law and order, there's nothing you fear if you are put on the spotlight, because you know that you are supposed to do the right thing. On the question of the justice for them, where there are cases involving police service, I think it is incumbent upon us to be also alerted so that we can push for a just process. On the question of illegal fishing, it remains a serious issue. We agreed today that from our security meeting that it is important to first raise proper awareness with the involvement of public health officers, with proper tests and results about the toxic levels of the fish itself in the first place. And then we move to the next phase as to whether all the fish is being got in the lake, as it were, or in land that was invaded by water and now has become part and parcel of the lake. And if that land, because we've been told some hundreds of acres have been taken over by water of Lake Nakuru, it may be incumbent upon government to buy the land and pay the land owners, and it becomes part of the national park and the lake itself. So that discussion is ongoing. And then on the question of Brian Odhiambo, as you very well know, when I came here last time, it was still at large, but there are some people who have been charged, and therefore it's now up to the DPP and the investigating officers to present credible evidence in court so that anyone who was involved can be held into account. On the question of human rights, silencing of human rights, I'm not aware about places of silencing human rights activists, and if they are actually the loudest of the persons in terms of defending their rights. And I don't think, usually most of the human rights activists actually have an upper hand in court, even over and above the police officers. But where they need my support, they have full support. Everybody has a right. And I don't know, because of the past clashes between the police and political and human rights activists, human rights in Kenya has assumed a very negative connotation. But it should not be the case. A human rights activist is supposed to be fighting for both rights of civilians and rights of police officers, regardless of your position you hold. The hypocrisy, though, on some of the so-called human rights activists is that when anything happens to the police, they say nothing. When anything happens to a business of somebody whose business has been banned, they say nothing. If somebody's car is banned, they say nothing. They wait until now, those people who are banning business, attacking police officers, hurting police officers, when one of them is shot in the process, say a police officer was protecting himself, that becomes the story. And they become the loudest there. The reason why there is some bad blood between the police and the so-called human rights activists, because they that call themselves human rights activists have interpreted their role that police are not human beings. It is only their victims that are human beings. And therefore, human rights does not include police rights, which fuels and establishes very bad blood. On the question of Baringo and I remember what it was all about. Somebody asked about statistics of people arrested and so forth. I don't have them on my fingertips. If you had asked a little bit earlier, I think the DIG would have gotten there, whatever. But we can speak over this outside here. But there are people arrested. It's just that I don't have all the numbers here right now. And sorry for not having the numbers. On the question of, what was that? The last one was wildlife attack. The Kenya Wildlife Service has done a very good job in compensating victims of wildlife attack, whether it's lives or livestock, their livestock or their crops. And I think that has been ongoing. I have gone to several places, and the KWS officer is always reporting about the numbers that have been basically sorted in that issue. Sorry, there were other questions. Illicit brew and prominent people. Yes. No, the part of the reason why illicit brew, or in fact adulterated ethanol is the worst part of it, and the spirits that are sold in shops and so forth, is because of the compromise, the amount of money. One container of ethanol is 50 million worth. So the money, the brewers or the sellers are willing to bribe everybody, the police, the KRA, KEBS, everywhere, to cause havoc. So it's not a very easy thing to deal with, but we have in the past taken very firm stand to ensure that this matter is properly dealt with, and we'll continue doing the same. We have even closed those businesses and so forth. Again, DIG, thank you for the numbers. For the person who was asking about Baringo, 285 persons were arrested in the entire Operation Maliza Walivu. The specific ones for Baringo can be shared any further. And then on the question of administrative units, Isaac, that is true. That was the whole debate. I'm sure you sat through the Jukwaa la Usalama. The whole debate is about imekuwa ni kuhusu kuhakikisha kwamba ile administrative units ambayo ilitangazwa imeletwa chief ama assistant chief ama assistant county commissioner na vile deputy county commissioner. Kwa bahati mbaya hii inategemea bajeti yenye tunapewa. Some of the administrative units imekaa kutoka 2017 kwa sababu ya ile budget haijawekwa katika bunge, na tunaendelea kujadiliana na wabunge. Nimeenda bunge mara mingi kujibu maswali, hata kesho nitakuwa bunge la kitaifa kujibu maswali, na zingine zinahusiana na administrative units kwa sababu bajeti ndio shida kubwa zaidi. Na saa zingine wetu wanasema yetu ilitangazwa 2017 lakini kuna yenye ilitangazwa 2023 na tayari iko na DCC. Kuna zingine tulibuni kwa sababu ya security. Unafika mahali na the problem is acute, kama hii ya Baringo, Mukutani and the other sub-counties. Ilibidi ifanywe hivyo ndio tupeleke serikali closer, ndio tunyamaze kutoka ile shida tulikuwa nayo huko. So saa zingine sehemu ambayo iko relatively calm inangojea kidogo. Lakini sehemu nyingi kwa nchi yote ni kwamba chief na assistant chiefs bado kazi kubwa bado iko, na mimi napambana na bajeti kuhakikisha kwamba imesaidia ku roll out hizo administrative units. Wale Mariana amesema mambo ya kura. Wale wanasema kwamba kura isipojaa tutajaza. Pengine unajua sasa ukiuliza, unajua wanasiasa ni wajanja. Ukiuliza utajaza namna gani, atakwambia tuta campaign kwa hali ya juu sana. Umewaisikia wale wanasema choma na taya, alafu anasema yani weka taya ndio gari isonge. Kuna interpretations mingi ya mambo kama haya. Lakini nataka kuhakikishia hivi, hakuna njia nyingine mtu yoyote atashinda kura kwa Kenya. Ni njia moja peke yake, kuomba kura, na kura ipigwe na ihesabiwe. Kama ingefanywa hivyo 2022 hatungekuwa ofisi, kwa sababu hatukuwa kwa serikali. So hakuna ile vitisho ya kusema kwamba tutatisha mtu yoyote kwamba hautapata. Kila mtu aombe kura yake na aombe kwa njia inayofaa. Kenya ni nchi yetu ya demokrasia. Tumewahi kuona kura nyingi na hakuna mtu anapotea kwa Kenya hata kama hajashinda kura. Tumewahi kuona wenye walishindwa jana ndio wako serikali kuliko wenye walishinda jana. Tuliona wale walishinda jana ndio wanapiga kelele huko nje, wanalia kwamba kwa nini wale tulipigana nao ndio wako sasa serikali zaidi. So hii nchi ni very nice. Hata wale wanatoka nje huko wanafika Kenya wanashangaa hii ni nchi gani hii tofauti namna hii. ule mtu alikuwa anasema yeye ndio nilikuwa naangalia video ingine hapo, ule mwenye alikuwa anasema jana ati kazi yangu kwa hii serikali ni nabeba kitabu nikipima mtu alikuwa wapi, alafu naona shares yake kama ni percent. Sasa yeye hata ana shares, unajua, na ule alikuwa anapimiwa ndio sasa ako ndani. So kuna haja ya kupigana kwa sababu ya kura. Hii ni nchi ambayo iko na nafasi nyingi sana, hata ukianguka sometimes hata kuanguka ni afadhali kuliko kushinda. So watu wa relax. Kwa mambo ya security officers, Edna alikuwa amesema nini? Security officers, yes, all security officers that involve themselves in criminal activity will not be treated as security officers. They are treated as criminals, you know. So it doesn't matter the position they hold. Even today, if you are a cabinet secretary and you are found in impropriety, you will not be treated as a cabinet secretary, you are treated as a suspect. So in the same way, security officers, we have to deal with them under the law. Some are suspended, some are sacked, depending on the public service regulations, and then charged in court of law, and if they are found guilty, they are completely sacked. So that process goes on. We've done those for chiefs. We removed police officers in different situations. 60% of Kasarani, yes, that's true. We have been given as last warning. If we don't get 60% of Kasarani, we will find ourselves in trouble. I want to confirm that really the problem we had in Kasarani on Sunday, and I was there, I could see the problem coming. There were people over 100,000, I can tell you for sure. You know, maybe 70, 80,000 around there. I drove through the big crowd, and thousands of people were filling Thika Road. And I didn't see it as a problem properly. I saw it as a real hunger for proper sports. The amount, the level of the love that the people of Kenya have for football, and the desire they have always wanted their country to do well is amazing. In fact, this is credit to His Excellency the President for supporting this process, investing in this. Remember, I served as a sports minister before, so I know the amount of resources we put. You know, I saw some people saying, "Oh, where does the president get the money to reward 5 billion just to host 1.5 billion?" And I know because I was part and parcel of the process to just host, and we'll pay even more billions to host the 2027. But do you know the returns we get? Do you know the marketing Kenya achieved alone? Free marketing for beating Morocco, who are semi-finalists in World Cup. So the investment you put in sports, do you know the value that comes with those players that were playing football? Do you know that tomorrow, if Odhiambo or our wonderful goalkeeper was to be signed to a Premier League or any club in Europe, the amount of money is going to earn, the return in investment that will come to our country. So this small, it's big of course, the 1 million, 2 million that the president is giving. If you calculate the ripple effect in terms of investment, and what has been lacking in Kenya before is the right motivation to get, we need to get enough players to export them. And anyway, I've digressed, but the point is this. We take Sunday very serious. And so I want to request Kenyans, not for anything else, for the sake of our youth, for the sake of our sports people, let's not ruin the chance for us to play our matches for Chan here, but also not ruin our chance to host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027. Because depending on how we comply with the penalties for this Sunday, it will signify what kind of a host we will be in 2027. And remember, we're investing in massive infrastructure, including Talanta Stadium, only to reach a stage where we are unable to host. So we are in and tomorrow we have a very serious meeting in Nairobi to put in place measures to ensure that those measures, those 60% occupancy is going to be achieved. I am confident that the people of Kenya will comply for the sake of their players and for the sake of our country. Thank you.
I think that's all.
Yeah.
So guys, we are just going to go offline right now. We thank you, Bwana Waziri, for making time to speak with the people, not just here in Nakuru, but also who are watching online and even in different platforms. I would like to thank my co-hosts. All of you have been amazing, and like to just please give them a round of applause for the questions that they've asked. Thank you, Waziri, for making time for us. I know there'll be a brief session offline where you can interact with the journalists who are here. Please take advantage of that. And I know I'm breaking protocol, but I just kind of request for a photo session with your hosts here so that it can be plaqued in Nakuru history that we did host the CS in the first ever Jukwaa la Usalama to ever be held in Nakuru County. Thank you so much.